Hello, and welcome to the Albright Scholar for August 2024. My name is John Pankratz. I teach history at Albright, and every month it's my privilege to welcome BCTV viewers and residents of Greater Reading to take a glimpse inside our learning community up on North 13th Street, to look at the work being done by teachers and students, and to think about its impact on all of us. Well, it's still summer, warm and sunny, but not too humid. And that means at Albright College, we have teams of students and teachers working on what we call ACRE projects, Albright Creative Research Experiences, spending an entire summer in a collaborative way investigating a whole range of topics. We've seen 2 shows already this summer dealing with the arts, and guess what? We're going to talk about art in a way today as well. My guest is one student, Maya Burdick, a rising senior who is working with our dear colleague Heidi Mao in a project dealing with children book illustration.
Yes, yeah. The project, the ACRE, is called Visual Theories and Methodologies in Children's Book Illustrations.
Oh, great. Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
First of all, the general question, why spend the summer doing hard intellectual and creative work rather than, I don't know, putting your feet up or going down to the shore or...
Well, I think that's kind of like the beauty of the ACRE program is, I mean, every other summer that I've had in college, I've spent doing art and not getting, I mean, I get paid for it if it's a commission piece, but it's one piece I work on, and I figured what's the point of doing that and not getting the educational value out of it. So I think, yeah, it's a combined research project with what I do as my passion. So I'm excited to do my second children's book this summer, and then that will transition into my honors thesis.
Oh, how great! How great! It's one of the things about the ACRE is that so much of the energy and the impetus for these projects comes not from the top down, from the professor saying, "Oh, go off and investigate this little niche topic," but the energy comes from the student.
Yeah. No.
Themselves.
Yeah. I actually came to Dr. Mao like the week that the ACRE proposals were due.
Oh, wow.
I had thought about doing my honors thesis on children's book illustration because I took 2 courses with her that really inspired me to start working on illustration and go dive deeper into that like aspect of art. And yeah, I mean, I was informed, I had always known about the ACRE program, but I never really thought about it in reference to myself. I kind of held myself back a little bit with being too anxious to like get involved, but I think that talking to her and also Jeff Lenz, I talked to him about it too because he's my advisor. Right. And yeah, we all kind of came together and figured out that this was something that would be beneficial to me and transition again into my thesis for the fall and the spring of my senior year.
Which is coming up, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you're a rising senior here. And tell us what is your major, because you have so many irons in the fire that it's hard to categorize you in a single major.
It's a long list. I'm a full major in digital studio art, and then I'm getting a co-major in vocal performance.
Yes.
And then I am getting minors in visual communication design and theater.
And theater, right? Yeah. Well, certainly the Albright community knows you as a onstage performer,
yes, yeah.
But also as a creative artist, as a painter as well. You've had Best in Show in some student shows in the Friedman Gallery. As well, so yeah, you're
I've been very fortunate.
A familiar presence, yeah, and it is one of the lovely things about our school that someone can have more than one interest,
yes,
and get support and get appreciation in all of their various talents.
No, I came into Albright wanting to just do theater, and I think that aspect of Albright, being able to challenge myself and dive deeper into different areas, because I've done art my entire life. I mean, I turned projects in elementary school into things that didn't need to be art, into like illustrated little tea-dyed books about history. So I mean, I've always made things artistic when they didn't even have to be. But I think that Albright's given me the opportunity to really focus in on different areas all at once and change my whole major to digital studio art.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you've had a whole range of professors, right? So
Yes,
you've had
yeah.
Dr. Mao supervising this project and some other things. But who else have you worked with in the art department?
I've worked with, well, in the artistic side of like theater, I've worked with Tammy Black, Jeff Lentz, Matt Fotis, Julia Matthews, like everyone.
The whole
I've
theater
had,
department.
Yes, the whole theater department. And then for the more like I don't know, fine arts, visual arts side of things, I've had classes with mostly Brian Glaze, and I had one class with Professor Hawker, which was and Matthew Garrison. But I think that I paint as my largest medium, and I guess I've gotten more into sculpture this past year, but painting is kind of the thing that I stick to, my classical painting style, and I've really honed in on that through my years in high school, I think. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, does this project in book illustration, is the work there sort of hands-on and something that you're doing with a brush or a pen, or is it another medium entirely?
Well, my first book is called Have You Seen My Hat? And that was completely digital. It was based on like an analog sketch I did of myself as a child. That's what the whole character B is based off of, is me in this little red hat that I found a picture of me. So, so that was all digital, and I colored that in Photoshop, which is the tool that I use mostly. I'm usually working in Photoshop. But for my book now, it's Pumpkin. This is the book I'm doing for the Acre. I'm doing the sketches in my sketchbook and scanning them into the computer, and then I'm coloring them in on Photoshop.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit of both.
And your Photoshop tools, it's brush tools or fill tools?
Yeah. I scan it in, I use the photo, and then I use a layer on top of that and like turn it to multiply so I can still see the lines that I've drawn with my hand. And then I color it in, and yeah.
Okay. And you like, is that enough of a tactile sense?
I have a Wacom tablet that I plug in, which is basically like a tablet that plugs into my computer, and I have a pen that goes with it, so I can still do it by hand, kind of.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm using the little pad on my computer.
Right,
I've tried that
or
before.
trying to push that. Yeah, no,
I was lucky. I had a job at a photography studio, and my boss actually gifted that to me, and I never really used it because I didn't know what to do with it. And then I had the class with Heidi, with Dr. Mao, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I started using it for the illustrations in class.
So perfect. So you feel enough specificity and
Yes.
enough resistance on the surface
Yeah.
to say, okay, I'm not going to slip off to the side of
I
my
can set the
lines.
settings perfectly, kind of just to how I want them. So it's really, really nice, yeah.
Great, great. Now, in addition to illustrating these stories, you're telling them, right? You're the author as well as the illustrator. How do those stories come to you? I guess if they're sort of autobiographical, at least about your hat.
Well, the first one, it's not a true story that happened to me, but the character came to me because I was just inspired by the photo of myself. I kind of had a period last year where I reconnected with like media that had been taken to me by my parents, obviously, like photos and videos that I found in our hard drive of me as a kid, and I hadn't seen them in so long. So that's kind of what was the catalyst for my first book, and it took me a while to write that. I think that was the majority of the work period. I had one semester to do the book.
Oh, okay.
And the majority of my time was spent writing, because I had a lot of trouble with that, and I did have help. I had a lot of people read it for me and just read it back to me so I could understand how it sounded to other people and to myself, not being in my head. But so yeah, that was a challenge, but I think I'm happy with how it turned out. There's rhyming in it. It's sweet. It has a little poem vibe to it, so I'm happy with that. And the book I'm doing now, Pumpkin, is a picture book, so there's no words, but there's still
No words at all.
Yeah, I think there's hello, goodbye pumpkin, and hi pumpkin, and that's kind of it, because the owner leaves for the day and then comes back at the end, and we see the antics that Pumpkin gets into throughout the day and the houses that he explores.
I'll tell you, once you have a house a building, a room to yourself.
Yeah, he's based on Ben. Ben is a student at Albright also, and
right.
he has a cat in his neighborhood that kind of, he goes into their house a lot, which is how I met him, because I see him when I'm over, but he walks around and he explores, and everyone kind of assumes that he goes to everyone else's house. So I thought why not write a book about everything that he experiences while he's in each person's house? And I was inspired by the fact that we sit and watch TV with him. So I was like, let's have a group of people watching TV on the couch and Pumpkin's sitting right in the middle. So I have different scenarios. I mean, he's at a tea party with some little girls. He's doing magic with 2 kids. He's painting with an artist in her art studio. He's doing a large array of different things throughout the day before he comes back home to go to sleep.
So you've done a book on the hat and now a book on the cat.
Yes.
I think you're
There's a
onto
theme
something there. So I can imagine that working out in the field of children's literature. There are other Albright alums who've created some wonderful children's books and had some good success
Yeah.
with that as well. And is there something about this particular moment that makes children's literature particularly compelling, do you think?
I think that what compelled me to get into it more is just because there's so much, I mean, it's a common conversation we have in a lot of the ACRE meetings, we talk about it too, but AI being involved in a lot of artistic mediums and a lot of artistic areas.
I saw a little meme yesterday that 90% of the visual content we're going to encounter in another 5 years is going to be AI generated.
I read a whole entire article about it was a tutorial on how to create a children's book with AI, and I used that in my literature review, and I'm like, there shouldn't be a tutorial on how to do that. I mean, like, it's such an important, art is so important for people to express themselves and to create, and I think that creating children's literature is so important for kids' growth and how they learn to consume media and recognize. I mean, I'm learning about the signs and the symbols and just the rhetoric the visual rhetoric in children's books. So I think that really making sure that there's meaning behind everything you create is so important.
That human intention.
Yeah, and the children learn from that, and
right.
That's how they learn to interpret things in the real world, is seeing the images in this.
And it's empowering as well.
It is, yeah.
The fact that it's coming out of you and onto a page as that kind of representation. Yeah. Is your book about the hat, is it on the market? Is it available?
I'm very excited. In the fall, I'm going to hopefully meet with some publishers with Dr. Mao. She has a few people that she's been in cahoots with, so I'm hoping to have an opportunity to talk to people about getting it published, hopefully.
Right.
And hopefully by then Pumpkin will be done too, so I can come to them with 2 books.
A twofer.
Yes.
I'll tell you, publishers love the idea of, if not a sequel, at least a successor that they can also sell based on the success of the first one. Oh, how great! Shall we look at a couple images here, just to show what you can do with brushes and acrylics? There it is. These are what, paired self-portraits?
Yeah, it's a diptych. I think it's called Self-Reflection. It says it on, yeah, and that was, I actually was fortunate enough to win the Provost's Award my junior year.
Yeah.
Or my sophomore year. And yeah, it was in my Painting 1 course. I did that. It's acrylic on canvas. And it's just kind of introspective look at myself, and it also was a challenge for me to play with different colors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Technically.
So the background's similar, but your palette.
Yeah. Just so there's something to join
the lighting
the two.
effect, yeah. And then this was in that same show, I think, in your sophomore
that was
year.
the same year. That's called Her Body, and that is that was actually my final project for the class. I have a whole presentation on it, but it's about accountability and sexual assault, and just the lack of accountability that people would take for it. And I thought it was a nice representation.
So this wonderful classic Greek sculpture,
Yes,
but threatened with all these menacing grabs. And here you are on stage in last spring's Urinetown.
Yes, yeah.
Which was a wonderful show.
It was so good. I was so grateful to be a part of that.
Oh.
Wow.
Such a simple set, and yet the costumes were so effective, and just the wonderful singing and staging.
Yes, yeah.
And it's an amusing play, but it's also
show.
a really serious one.
It is, yeah. I was so glad that there was like that contrast between keeping the audience entertained, but also like really making them think about what's going on in the world. And yeah.
And then this is an oil painting from this past spring's
Yes.
student show.
This is my most recent painting. I'm working on a self-portrait right now in the same style. I think this is kind of the style I'm leaning toward going forward. But yeah, it took me a year. It's called Lady Undraped, and it's oil on wood panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the medium I'm kind of going towards too, wood panel. I think it's just a fun experience to get to
Okay,
paint.
so this is almost going back to the Renaissance.
Yeah. I actually, I drew from like older techniques. I did a grisaille, so there's a black and white layer underneath. I painted that. Well, there's the first sketch layer in like burnt umber, and then I did a grisaille in black and white, and then a glaze over top for the colors. So yeah, and it took me a long time. It's a year's worth of work, but it's my favorite piece that I've ever done.
It was so arresting and beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And so classic in its look. I guess oil painters worked with layers even
Yes.
before Photoshop was
oil
invented.
paint is layers, layers, layers. Yeah.
And this was from this from your
year.
freshman year?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a skeleton in the closet. That's acrylic on wood panel. That actually won Best in Show in the art show,
Yes,
which
it
I was.
did.
And I think Albright. It's somewhere on Albright's campus. Someone has it in one of their offices, I think.
Good, I'm glad they do.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and this was essentially kind of a still life done in a painting class,
It
right?
was, yes,
Because
yeah.
that's the ceiling of the
No,
CFA.
the painting studio, yeah.
studio.
I took the angle that I saw everything at. You can see the black, not the black, the blue object on the left top corner is actually like a blurred side of my easel that I was painting on. So it's from an odd angle, and I worked the same kind of thing with the self-reflection piece. I worked to change the colors and look at it in a different way.
Yeah. And then here you are 2 springs ago
Yes.
in Spring Awakening as well.
Wendla.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful experience too. I've had so much fun
very moving
performing.
show.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Every show that I've been in at Albright has been really informative to the audience. I'm really glad. Iphigenia was that way too. Like I just.
Oh goodness,
I was
yes.
so.
I should have called that up.
Yeah, that was my freshman year. But like all of the performances I've been a part of, I've been so grateful. They've all been so delicious and beautiful to like for the audience and for the people involved. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wonderful opportunities to tell stories.
Of course, yeah.
Some of them deep classical, part of the sort of world canon, but others, I guess, a little bit more timely. In fact, Spring Awakening, of course, is more than 100 years old in terms of the story. And
It's still
and the
relevant. Yeah.
the tragedy is
Yes.
still there.
No, I was glad that we got to tell that story at Albright.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have plans going forward? I somehow can't imagine you simply being a book author and illustrator.
Yeah, I plan to continue doing theater. I don't want to do it as a full career. I think that I would be remiss if I didn't take a hold of the artistic ability that I've been blessed to work on and keep like fostering my love for art. So I want to do illustration or graphic design or art in some form as my everyday job, but I'm still doing theater, and I want to have my nights to do shows. I'm doing Gypsy in the fall. I'm doing the opera at school. Hopefully I'm auditioning for the musical in the spring again. So my life is still full of theater. I love
Good.
to perform.
Good.
I love to do art in every single form possible.
Certainly that would be my wish for every Albright student while in college, but then I think to the extent that you can keep growing and feeding your talents into adulthood, it's sort of the secret to a happy life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hope to continue to do everything that I love and be able to be stable and be surrounded by the people that I love still.
Yeah. And other creative people.
Yes,
There's nothing
yes.
better.
No,
There's
I'm
nothing
very
better.
glad
There's a
with the
kind of
people I'm surrounded
generosity and empathy that's coming from. I mean, sometimes theater can be a competitive business.
with. Yeah, but if you surround yourself with the right
as well.
people,
But
it's
once you're
supportive.
part of a company, then it becomes very supportive and wonderful. Do you get to see a lot of theater and see a lot of art? Do you seek
Yeah.
do you seek that out?
I do. In Lancaster there's Gallery Row. I love going in there. I had an art show actually there my senior year of high school. I was lucky enough to have like an art show on First Friday at Red Raven. So I still go in there. I check out what art is there, and they have really interesting things. I think Kristen Woodward, a professor at Albright, had a show there. I saw them post about her, so there's a little connection there. But yeah, I go to different museums. I look at things. I also consume a lot of theater. I just went to New York like 2 days ago to see Job, which is a new play in previews. I saw that with Ben, and yeah, it was really interesting. And I saw Cabaret at the Ephrata Performing Arts Center, which was directed by an Albright student
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's amazing. Just like that in itself is that Albright students are getting out there and doing things that they're passionate about.
Somehow
wonderful.
we're blessed to have all this
Yes.
student talent.
Yeah.
And you know, as a faculty member, I'm certainly grateful for that.
I love seeing everyone do what they're passionate about and do it so well because of the training that they've got. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It is. Do you see wider travels for yourself as an artist, a performer, or as a consumer of art and theater?
I haven't thought about that. I think that's a good. I'd love to travel. I mean, I'd love to explore. I've learned about art from different areas of the world, and I've made that a point in my research just to learn about different facets of like different techniques, different artists from different areas. But I've never really considered traveling there, just because I mean, my personal me getting anxious kind of holds me back a little bit there sometimes. But I think that once I'm done with school and once I have the time to go and not have classes holding me to a certain place.
All
I
those
think,
deadlines and
of
things
course.
like that.
But I mean, I might go to South America to visit a friend, so I think that would be a great experience. And I have always wanted to go to Italy, so they've got beautiful things there to look at.
Goodness sakes, how long have they been creating visual art
There's a whole
and
world to
music
explore,
and architecture and just the landscape? Yeah.
And they have a lot of gluten-free food, which I'm.
And they have a lot of gluten-rich food as well.
Yes, yeah.
Can we say pasta? No, but one does eat awfully well in Italy. There's no question. Yeah. No, I find myself that traveling and maybe museums aren't for everyone, but I think you can develop literally a new vision on the world by looking at the ways in which other people have seen it and interpreted it.
Yeah.
I find it very, very exciting.
It's wonderful to see people's interpretations of, how they look at the world and their experiences.
Yeah, and not simply historic art, but what the cutting edge, the way in which people are trying to make sense of what's going on in the world today. I think that's one of the reasons that your project in children's literature is so important, because I think we're helping insert kids into a world that can be really, really challenging.
Yeah, completely.
And sometimes people have the impetus to, cosset children away in their own little bubble and insulated area. And
you can't.
I think you have to build strong children. I think you have to build their curiosity, their love for the world, but also their resilience.
I think the children's books are such a great way to do that. It's such a way to transition them into learning about these things and in a digestible way for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And not, I've worked and read a lot about not treating them like they're children, like they're dumb. You have to write the books in a way where they can absorb it and you know that they will, as well as the adults that are reading it with them. Because, I mean, everyone's consuming it.
I think very often children's literature is written for the adults that have the child on their lap or
I mean, it's a
reading along as well.
It's a new experience for me reading the books that I read as a child now and going through and analyzing them. I see it in a completely different way because they're written with almost like not two meanings, but different. You just see
a kind of double consciousness.
Yeah, you interpret things so differently as your brain grows. So, yeah.
Great. Well, it's a wonderful project. and we really thank you for not only the acre, but all your many contributions over.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to have been at Albright and gotten to do all of that.
Yeah, and we're certainly looking forward to your senior year and
Too.
all the gifts that you'll bring to us as well.
Thank you.
Good. Well, this has been a wonderful show, a wonderful conversation. I thank you folks for joining us as well. We'll see you in the month of September, once the fall semester has started, for another edition of the Albright Scholar. So long.